dragons and fire-breathing dragons, you're probably also thinking of the mouse, right? We've been known for being a hub for tourism and a destination for families to come and really enjoy some of these precious assets that we have within the community. But there is a growing culture in Orlando of entrepreneurs, of artists, of musicians, of technology developers who are really trying to figure out the other side of Orlando's story. In fact, just recently, a couple days ago, Forbes recognized Orlando as the #2 fastest growing metro area in the country. And with a metro area of about 3 million people, last year we had over 66 million visitors, actually the #1 destination in the world for visitors coming. And a lot of it's, of course, because tourism and conferences and these types of destinations. I don't know if this video is showing.
She's going to help you.
Okay. So there's a short video, actually, I'd like to, it's 30 seconds. I wanted to, if you go to the bottom and just click.
This is Orlando. This is where we believe in magic and fantasies and wishing upon stars and the power of the imagination. This is where we dream, where we think smarter and play harder. So if you think you know all there is to know about Orlando, you're in for a big surprise. Because until you join our community and see all the reasons we're amazing, you don't know the half of it.
I always actually laugh at that tagline, but it's absolutely true. Honestly, we don't even know the half of what Orlando has. And this effort of smart cities is really becoming another reason why people are starting to pay attention, why business development is looking to come to Orlando. The creative class and this amazing amount of young professionals who are coming here. UCF now leading the country in terms of number of students, one largest university in the country. And so my role in this work really started just 3 years ago, but it was around the efforts of Greenworks Orlando. In 2007, now celebrating our 10-year anniversary, Mayor Dyer launched this effort around how we can make Orlando a more livable, a more workable, a more sustainable community for future generations to come. And really trying to figure out what are the verticals, as we can see here, around energy and buildings, transportation, water, local food systems, solid waste innovations, livability, and finally that green economy. What is it that's going to drive investments and talent and business development to our city under the lens of sustainability, resiliency, and security? And that's been really an exciting journey. And so in this effort of the green economy, late 2015, a group of us saw that the U.S. Department of Transportation had a Smart Cities Challenge. We were one of the 78 cities nationwide who were attempting to go after that $50 million pot, right? We thought that the partnerships that we had developed were robust, and we felt that we had what it took to essentially start this process of becoming a smart city. As we all know, Columbus ended up being the #1 winner for that, and remarkable proposal that they put together and efforts that they're working on. But what happened was, we sat down with Mayor Dyer maybe 2 weeks after we heard that we weren't selected, and he sat back and said, that's okay. We're going to move this forward. We're going to create a new initiative, the Smart Cities Initiative, and try to create a framework over the course of 2016 that will set us up essentially to be a national leader in this space. As you can see here, we developed a Smart City Steering Committee, of which myself, Charles Randat, Rick Howard, who are our Public Works Director, and our CIO sit on. And then internally, we developed essentially a Smart Cities team where we have a point of contact in each department and division throughout the city who are essentially our points to go to when we're talking about implementing new capital improvement projects or investments within the city. Everything from economic development, our transportation office, police and fire, venues, family parks and recs, you name it. To add on to that, we saw the need for us to create a partnership externally with academia, with private sector, with other governments, and have collected now over 40 letters of commitment throughout our community, everyone from Kennedy Space Center, UCF, of course, our utility OUC, Florida Polytechnic, and many, many other groups. And I think this really has set us up to be, ready for opportunities that arise, and you'll see some of the ones that we've recently won. So this had us really sit back and say, well, what really is a smart city? Are we a dumb city right now? And the answer, I think, is yeah, kind of, the way that we're working. It's almost like the analogy of the current way that cities are operating is being tethered to the wall through a traditional landline phone, right? And we're moving towards our smartphones. And in order for us to get there needs to be this combination of technologies that, again, are trying to create a more open, intelligent, interconnected, efficient, and continually renewing system that touches really all verticals within city government. You're talking about citizen and visitor engagement, us being the tourism hub of the country. We need that to be one of the highest priorities. Secondly, how can our administration and public safety be more efficient? How do we engage the built environment, not just municipal operations, but community buildings and commercial and multifamily facilities, our water, our utilities, our waste management? You all get it. And finally, I think what's most important is how do we include the vulnerable and underserved communities through these technologies so that we can lift them out of the current situation that they're in? And so that really became our definition of what a smart city is and what we're heading towards in the city of Orlando. First thing out the gate that we found when we're doing research was this concept of the Metro Lab Network. Who here has heard of the Metro Lab Network, just with a raise of hands? Metro Lab was launched by the White House in 2015 in an effort to essentially create formal partnerships with cities and their local research universities to do research, development, and deployment of smart cities technologies. And so we did immediately is, of course, went to our local university, UCF, and later on brought in Florida Polytechnic in a three-way partnership. And as part of this effort, we were told that we had to choose three focused areas for the RD&D. We decided to choose autonomous and connected vehicles, solar harnessing for EVs and the vehicle-to-grid, vehicle-to-vehicle, vehicle-to-infrastructure communications, and lastly, how do we enable real-time travel information for all modes of transit so that not only our residents but our visitors who come here can figure out the best ways to get point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. So Metro Lab has really helped us develop this literally a network between our local universities and the city to start really using expertise at the graduate and PhD level and researching how we could enable these key areas and much more than just these three, but with a focus on these three. So we sat back and started to say, well, actually, we've been already doing a lot of smart type projects, integrating technology with our infrastructure for many, many years. Our ITS is extremely robust. We have transit signal priority here. Many of our buses have the advanced vehicle locators. We have outfitted a lot of our on-street parking with some of the most modern and smart parking meters that are out there that can be literally paid for on the phone, that can be reserved before you get there. We have, of course, buildings are a big focus, and I'll mention that here shortly. We're doing smart policing and predictive analysis with some of the things that we're working on with OPD. And we really started to see, okay, we have a pretty good network of efforts that we're working on. And in fact, one of the most important ones is called TravTech. TravTech was literally the launch of in-vehicle navigation systems back in the 1990s, in the mid-1990s, during the ITS World Congress. And what happened was, City of Orlando, AAA, USDOT, NFDOT, UCF, and General Motors all partnered to essentially test out in-vehicle navigation systems before this was in all of our phones. And we were the hub because of the tourism destination. They know that people who came here needed to figure out how to go from point A to point B, and they said, well, Orlando's that hub. And so we pioneered this technology that's now outfitted in almost every vehicle in the world. We're starting to look at now how we expand upon these efforts of smart cities in various verticals. So one of them is waste management. We have a goal in the city to become a zero waste community by 2040. The mayor told me that. I was kind of struck a little bit and said, that's incredibly ambitious, right? we're a fast-growing city, and we make a lot of waste. This is just part of culture. How are we going to do that? And we're starting to actually figure out unique ways to do that. One is we're expanding a whole suite of downtown recycling using the Big Belly trash compactors, right? The solar-powered trash compactors. These things actually have volumetric sensors in each one of the units. And what that helps us do is it communicates to a central database. It allows our waste management team, who's going out and cleaning these bins, to pinpoint which bin I need to pick up because of how much waste is actually in it, not just because a regular routine. This helps efficiency in workforce. It helps us to save emissions in terms of the trips that we're making in order to pick up these trash cans. And we're now starting to outfit the downtown starting next quarter with a lot of these Big Belly trash compactors. In addition, we're getting smart about food waste. About 40 to 50% of municipal solid waste stream is organics. It's food waste that's going into the landfill, creating methane, creating the problem that we're dealing with today. So we launched a commercial food waste collection program where we're literally working with hotels and restaurants, collecting their food waste, bringing it back to an anaerobic biogas facility, and making power out of that. And the goal is eventually make enough of that biogas to compress into CNG and fuel the CNG garbage trucks that we've just transitioned. So imagine a closed loop waste system that's literally fueled off of the waste that normally was going into the landfill, right? Getting smart about our waste and having our waste do work for us is the goal. Secondly, we're starting to look at smart street lighting. We've had a goal to go 100% LED street lighting by 2020. We're well in that progress. We've already retrofitted 15,000 of our street lights out of the 25,000 that we have. But we're also looking at some new and improved smart street lighting technologies for certain parts of our downtown. And we've been amazed at the combination of services that a street light could have. Everything, not only from the high efficiency LEDs, but environmental monitoring, traffic analytics and management, Wi-Fi and being a DAS system at the same time, gunshot detection that would wirely communicate to the nearest OPD officer in that location so that there's no lag time between somebody calling it because they heard a gunshot and waiting 5 minutes. There's a lot that these streetlights are now able to provide for cities to be more efficient as it relates to public safety, environmental safety, and overall efficiency when it comes to our traffic. So we're looking to deploy a number of these smart streetlights within the downtown core, test them out, gather metrics, and then hopefully roll those out even further over time. Smart vehicles. We have a goal as well to be 100% alternative fuel vehicles by 2030 in our municipal operations. So we have made a strong commitment to move all of our fleet to alternative fuels. We've now retrofitted our motor pool to 100% all electric. We are converting all of our large duty trucks, not only the garbage trucks but fire trucks, to CNG. And we're getting very serious even about our downtown buses. This is a picture of us. We've done a series of demos with electric bus manufacturers. We're about to do 3 one-month-long pilots with each one of these buses starting this summer. And the goal is to have an electric bus that eventually, over time gets into a driver-assisted electric and eventually driverless electric bus. We have a bus rapid transit in the downtown that's a protected lane. It is an ideal opportunity for testing these types of vehicles. And then I approached our police chief, Chief Mina, and I said, hey, there's a couple of these these police departments that are incorporating all electric motorcycles in their fleet for protests, for special events, a number of other applications. And so we brought down 0 motorcycles, and we are now in the process of purchasing 4 of those as a pilot. We'll probably scale that to 10 by the end of the year. And I want to start to roll out more EVs within the police fleet so that they can feel that they're helping to contribute to the mayor's vision as well. So we're looking at vehicles very, very closely as well. Smart buildings. This is probably one area when you ask other cities about Orlando's operations that we excel in beyond most. We have a goal of 100% of our buildings becoming high-performance green buildings, and since 2012, we haven't built anything less than a LEED certified building, LEED Silver, and we're trying to push the curve even further. A unique aspect is we launched a municipal energy efficiency project a year and a half ago, and coming into this role, I approached our director of facilities and fleet and said, we need to create an in-house ESCO, essentially using our own capital, our own bond capital, which we can get much lower rates than any other private firm. We're a AAA And we need to hire out an energy manager and a team and go after these low-hanging fruit opportunities in our buildings. So we took out $17.5 million, approached 110 buildings for the overall effort, where phase one is 55 of these buildings. And we're going through, at this point, we've deployed half of that, we're going through doing high-efficiency LED upgrades, HVAC renovations, every facility getting building automation and controls, and we have a centralized energy management and analytics tool that helps us to better understand in real time how these facilities are performing. So we brought on Building OS, and the cool thing is it's bringing in meter data, all of the automated meter infrastructure, it's bringing in the actual building automation and control systems through automated logic, and the work order management system that combines into the central database so that we can see the full cost of ownership and operations in real time. We're getting about 15-minute interval data from this power, and now 55 of the buildings are on the system, and we're working towards the next phase to get them deployed, and again, the goal is saving $2.4 million per year, half of which will pay the debt over a 15-year period, the other half which will be recycled in a revolving energy fund for future improvements as we go over time.
Are these local government-owned facilities?
They are. These are all City of Orlando owned and operated buildings. So we're trying to lead by example and show that not only are we getting smart with our buildings, but we're saving a significant amount of money every year and lowering taxpayer dollars to operate our buildings. Smart energy, speaking of energy, we have a goal as well of being 100% renewable energy by 2030 for municipal operations. Not only do we want to have high performance buildings, we want to power them by renewables by 2030, and we feel we can definitely do that. We have, luckily, have a municipal utility, OUC, within our city who's been really embracing the concept of renewables despite the pushback at the state level with the Public Service Commission in Florida. It's no question that it's a challenging market to be in here when you're talking about solar. But we have started to get unique applications. We have some large-scale solar farms. This is a 6-megawatt solar farm at the Stanton plant. This is a 400 kW community solar carport where people are virtually net metering in. We're using a lot of our public rooftops. This is the Fleet and Facilities Headquarters, full 420 kW system. It's about 80% of the total consumption throughout the entire year, and we're actually now exploring outfitting three of these buildings here that will get us net zero. Essentially, we produce more every year than our consumption. And so I'm starting to look at rooftops across the city, our fire stations, our police headquarters, our community centers. How can we deploy more PV, and even brownfields that we're sitting on that the Navy owns but the city operates, that we're looking to deploy some larger scale solar farms as well. There's something called SolSmart for cities now. It's kind of like a designation for how ready you are for the solar marketplace. We just became SolSmart Bronze, and it's really looking at the soft costs. Most of the drop in PV and in solar that we'll see moving forward is not hardware. It will be software. It will be streamlined efficiencies for how you perform planning, inspections, the permitting of these solar arrays, the customer acquisition. So we'll see drastic drops in this through efficiencies over time. And what the city's trying to do is really get more efficient at how we bring in a solar permit and deploy it in less than a day, right? How can we get it in a day or less? And that's one of our goals. And then in terms of making it more affordable, here in Florida, we don't have third-party power purchase agreements, so that's the vast majority of the way that people go solar around the country. It's illegal in Florida to do PPAs. We're the Sunshine State, don't ask me. But I will say that we're starting, as a muni utility, we're getting creative. We said, okay, we have community solar. People can virtually net meter from an apartment and tie into that community array and get their production offsetted, which is pretty cool. And we're about to install we're installing a 12 megawatt system on a coal ash landfill as we speak. It's being commissioned here soon. And in addition, there's a concept called solar aggregation or solar cooperatives, where people can essentially bundle homeowners together to lower the total cost per watt through economies of scale, right? If a solar installer is going to do 5 kW versus 500 kW, guess what? The panel price, the inverter price, the installation price is lower. So the utility now, we've convinced OUC to lock in an an installed rate at $2 per watt installed, compared to a $3.50 currently in the marketplace, $3.50 per watt installed. More than a third reduction just by bundling people together and going after a single bid. And so we just launched that January of this year, and we already have over 400 households that are signed up for the aggregation program. It's going to take off as a new model for utilities to still maintain relationship with the customer, but at the same time access more affordable solar. Couple of last things I want to mention is we just last week, in fact, I was over at UCF, and Siemens is a major partner here. They have over 5,000 employees, huge hub for Siemens in North America in Orlando, and they gave UCF a $750,000 grant to create a digital grid lab at UCF, where students, first in the country, students are now able to simulate UCF's grid, all of the real-time information from the buildings, the solar that they have on campus, the cogen plant, and then simulate what it looks like to go to 100% renewables, and in real time be able to better understand that as we roll that out in the coming years. So huge effort. This is a massive thing from the electric and smart grid perspective. OUC, Duke Energy, they're all about it. They really want to see how this can work with UCF as a test. So the last two things I'll mention are really, Peter mentioned it earlier. We, of course, in 2016 built that infrastructure internally with our team, and we continued to go after these grant opportunities. One of them that popped up was this DOT proving grounds for new vehicle technologies. They were looking for 10 cities around the country to essentially be a hub for OEMs and vehicle manufacturers to bring their vehicles and start testing connected, electric, autonomous, automated, you name it. So we put together a partnership, the Central Florida Automated Vehicle Partnership, CFAVP, and actually were selected to be one of these 10. We're extremely fortunate. Here's kind of the overall vision with it, starting way out on the west side of Florida Polytechnic and the Sun Tracks, I-4, the Florida Turnpike, CFX, which is the 528, Central Florida Expressway Authority, the Port Canaveral, NASA Kennedy Space Center, UCF, Lynx, you name it. So we put together about 10 key partners, probably the best partnership in the country. And the focus is to do a couple of things. One, simulation and emulation in the labs, both at UCF and at Florida Polytechnic University. Start getting the students and the professors to simulate what it's like to have connected and autonomous vehicles. Then, of course, Florida Poly will probably mention this a little bit later, and so I won't steal the thunder, but there's some exciting things around a concept called Sun Tracks that will help to be in basically a closed network for testing these types of vehicles and testing other smart cities technologies, and eventually roll them out into our downtown core over time. So imagine bringing these vehicles to, NASA Kennedy Space Center, as an example, has a Space Act agreement with us, testing out platooning of 18-wheelers, having these autonomous and electric 18-wheelers that can platoon in 4 and 5, in groups of 4 and 5, and show efficiencies of fuel economy by 25 to 28% just by working together. And so if you have a port that comes in and you're bringing in goods, and all of a sudden they get onto a platoon of 18-wheelers that are autonomous and connected, and they go to the airport and they get shipped out, now you have a supply chain that we've never had that I think is really prime for economic development. And lastly is this Smart Cities Council Readiness Challenge. We were, out of 150 cities, selected as one of the 5 across the country to essentially build out a comprehensive smart cities roadmap. We don't necessarily know what a smart city is and what designates a smart city. And so these 5 have been selected to help create the rubric and the framework for cities around the world, not just this country, for what a smart city actually is. What types of technologies do we need to have as a foundation for us to actually consider ourselves a smart city? And so we're excited in June. Individuals from the Smart Cities Council will be coming to Orlando, hosting a readiness workshop, bringing together all those partners I mentioned, internal and external, and really figuring out what are the challenges we need to solve in the city first. And secondly, what technologies can we bring in to solve those challenges in the most cost-effective and efficient way possible? And we're extremely honored and excited to be a part of that effort. So part of this is we have a infill development that's happening in the downtown core. It's called Creative Village. And our vision is to make Creative Village a continually renewing smart cities showcase, a test bed for technologies, smart buildings, smart vehicles, on-site generation, storage, you name it, and really have this as a core of mixed use that has retail, multifamily, et cetera. And that's coming 2019. It'll be the home of the UCF downtown campus as well. That will bring about 10,000 students to the downtown core of Orlando. So in closing, I think Walt Disney did have something going when he was thinking about the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, or Epcot, right? And his vision of making Orlando the Epcot. Now we're trying to transition it into the fabric of our entire city, and hopefully through this effort and the partnerships with you all in the audience,